One of the most common explanations for the brutalities introduced by Vlad the Impaler is that he learned them during his captivity in the Ottoman Empire. This critical period of his childhood would have deeply traumatized him and scared him for life. Though various abuses, the Ottomans would have turned him into a sadistic and ruthless character, passionate about piercing bodies with stakes. In the absence of authentic personal statements of the voivode about this period of his life, and because of the many novelists and tourist guides who are competing in mythologizing these years, this period aims to bring the truth out of the fog of history. Vlad and his brothers led, at least in part, a life that few could imagine when thinking about hostages in the immediate vicinity of the Ottoman slave factory. İlkbahar gelince Drakula'yla Vılkoğlu'na adam gönderdiler ve kapıya çağırdılar. Vılkoğlu kendi gelmeyip iki oğlunu gönderdi. Dracula, Vılkoğlu'nun böyle ne yaptığını görünce kendisi ve iki oğluyla devlet eşiğine geldi. Gelir gelmez Dracula'yla iki oğlunu tuttular. Dracula'yı Gelibolu Hisarı'nda iki oğlunu da Germiyan vilayetinde Eğrigöz Kalesi'nde hapsettiler. Vılkoğlu'nun iki oğlunu ise Tokat Kalesi'nde hapse kaydılar. Greetings, my name is Adrian Gheorghe. I'm a professional historian and Ottomanist, that is a specialist in the language and the history of the Ottoman Empire, and part of the project Corpus Draculianum, which aims at editing all sources of any kind from and about Vlad the Impaler Dracula. Vlad the Impaler first arrived in the Ottoman captivity in April 1437 at the age of just 6 or 7. Vlad Dracul, his father, had come to Wallachia with the help of Emperor Sigismund of Luxembourg. The weakness of their Catholic supporters had exposed Wallachia and the new voivode to devastating Ottoman attacks. Eventually, the Ottomans offered him peace and protection in exchange for his submission, of course. For this, the voivode had to send his first two sons, Mircea and Vlad, as hostages, a guarantee of their father's loyalty. If he betrayed the Ottomans, the sons would be killed or at least blinded, as had happened to the sons of the Serbian despot, who were taken hostages at the same time. Pleased with Vlad Dracul's proof of loyalty, Sultan Murad II kept only Vlad, the younger son, at the court, leaving Mircea to return home. Little Vlad was probably able to stay at the court in Edirne or Adrianople for about 3 years. In 4040 or 4041, he was allowed to return home after his education in or near the Sultan's palace. There is a big misconception perpetuated not only by history textbooks. Contrary to this, individuals like Vlad and his brothers were, so to say, luxury hostages. Their high rank and the laws of diplomacy of that time demanded that they be treated fairly and not simply thrown in a dark, rodent-infested tower. Comparable examples show us two scenarios. Some hostages, such as children taken from the Balkan populations, were enrolled as foreign recruits. About this, we'll make a separate video. And who, having passed the most important tragedies, had the great privilege of getting their education in the Sultan's palace and then serving in the Ottoman administration, which was composed almost exclusively of slaves. These apprentices served first as pages, each oğlan in Ottoman, which translates as inner palace boys. The most important of them had the great fortune to learn alongside the Ottoman princes and other offsprings of the Ottoman elite. Other possibility was that these hostages ended up in the homes of Christian elites, who were also part of the cosmopolitan 15th century Ottoman administrative apparatus. In other words, instead of learning Ottoman Turkish language and the Quran in the Sultan's palace, they learned Greek and the Bible in the mansions of the former Byzantine elites. This could explain the links between Vlad the Impaler and the Greek diplomat Katapholikos, sent years later to Wallachia by the Sultan to win the confidence of the voivode, but who failed in his mission and was unsurprisingly impaled toward the beginning of 1462. Following successful Hungarian offensives, led by Janko de Hunedoara, János Hunyadi in Hungarian, the military situation of the Ottomans worsened. Vlad Dracul, who was seeking to secure his reign by means of his skilled diplomacy, negotiated with the Hungarians to switch sides. The Ottomans, shocked by their defeats in Transylvania and Wallachia against Janko, summoned Vlad Dracul to report to the port, where he was arrested and imprisoned in the fortress of Gallipoli. Accused of treason, the voivode was forced to summon his sons Vlad and Radu all the way to Gallipoli and hand them over to the Ottomans to regain his freedom. The two children, now aged around 13 and 5 respectively, were sent first to Bursa, the old capital in Anatolia, and from there to the fortress of Erigöz in the Anatolian mountains. This captivity on the mountain tops were particularly hard, a sign of the Ottomans' distrust of their father. In the meantime, however, he has lost his reign following another Ottoman defeat and was forced to retreat to the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Murad II was convinced of Vlad Dracul's political talent and ordered the release of his sons from Erigöz and their transfer to the former Byzantine city of Ninfayon, today Kemal Pasha in Turkey. There they probably lived in the town's former Byzantine palace, the ruins of which can still be seen today. Living in the palace better suited Vlad and Radu's rank as princes, and they were now treated with a certain dignity, with the Ottomans' intentions being to attract their loyalty and their families' loyalty. However, the dangers had not entirely passed. After regaining his reign, Vlad Dracul was forced by Janko de Hunedoara and the King of Hungary to send a Wallachian army to the Battle of Varna in Bulgaria, November 1444, under the command of his eldest son, Mircea. The voivode's refusal could have meant his death by the hands of the Hungarians. Acceptance, however, endangered the lives of his younger sons held hostage in Anatolia. Vlad Dracul sought a compromise. He instructed Mircea not to act too offensively against the Ottomans. The fact that Mircea could not help beating the Ottoman right wing at Varna and then sacking the Ottoman camp, actually the only success of the Crusader army at Varna, shows that his disregard for the lives of his brothers who in fact could become the rivals for the throne in few years' time, nor the following year, when he massacred 300 Ottoman soldiers near the fortress of Giurgiu, exposing their corpses on the bank of the Danube. Did Mircea, whose biography you can be sure we will discuss in the future, change his attitude towards the order of his father, who probably now had already begun to believe his younger sons dead. But what prevented their execution, or at least their blinding? Sultan Murad II must have anticipated the rapid change in Vlad Dracul's stance towards the Hungarians, given their and the other crusaders' catastrophic defeat at Varna. In 1446, an Ottoman delegation arrived in Târgoviște with an unexpected offer for the voivode. If he renounced the Christians and submitted to the sultans again, the sultan would guarantee the life and freedom of his sons. In April 1447, when Vlad Dracul was bringing the tribute to Edirne, Vlad and Radu were allowed to return home. About the murder of Vlad Dracul and Mircea in December 1447, and Vlad the Impaler's and Radu's flight back to the Ottoman Empire, we made a separate video. Here, you can see it. And with the same vigor as His Majesty used to end his Slavonic letters, I can wish you too, may God rejoice over you. Bye.